Hey, welcome to the Press Box Chronicles with Jeff Pearlman. Hey, welcome to the Press Box Chronicles with Jeff Pearlman, the show where a very cranky middle-aged sports writer who has seen it all, that is me, takes you behind the scenes and into the stories. I'm your host, Jeff Pearlman, and today we're going to talk about something that brings me such joy, such nostalgia, takes me back to my youth, which is really one of the magics of sports. Like, I actually think more than anything, more than the thrills of sports, more than the defeats of sports, more than the highs, more than the lows, what sports give us at our best is a sense of nostalgia. Sports aren't that different than hearing a song and thinking, oh, I remember the first time I heard that, or tasting food and being thrown back to your grandma's kitchen when you were 6. Like, sports do that. And nothing brings me more joy than thinking back to April 6, 1987, when Marvelous Marvin Hagler and Sugar Ray Leonard met in Las Vegas for the WBC Middleweight Championship. And that's what we're going to dive into today. So I grew up in a small town, Mahopac, New York. And Mahopac, New York was Putnam County, which is just north of Westchester County in New York. And back in the day, in the 1980s, before sports talk radio blew up, there was a show on my local radio station, and it was called Talkin' Sports. That's it, Talkin' Sports. And in 1987, I was 15 years old, and Talkin' Sports ran every Saturday morning on WVIP. And the hosts where this guy, Tim Malsbury, who I didn't know, but sold ads for the radio station, and Joe Bacchino, the assistant general manager of the New York Rangers, who, as a side note, years later, I did a profile of Joe Bacchino for my high school newspaper, the Mahopac High School Chieftain. And he told me that there aren't more blacks in the NHL because blacks don't have the leg strength to play hockey, which, because I didn't know anything, I buried in like the 100th paragraph of that story. It's kind of weird. Not the point. I used to call this show every week. It'd be on Saturday morning, and I was Jeff from Mahopac. And I would call in, literally, I was probably one of 100 people at most who listened to the show every Saturday. And I call in, and they would greet me. Joe Bacchino would say, I'd say, this is Jeff from Mahopac. And they'd say, my man, what's going on? And every week, I would call in to the point where I'm sure they got sick of me. And every now and then, on Talking Sports, they would have giveaways. Maybe it's a ski trip to so-and-so, or a pizza, free slice of pizza, or free pie at the local Paul's Pizza, whatever. And I would win 50% of the time because there was always sports trivia, and I was a little sports nerd, and I would get stuff right. Well, in 1987, they had a contest. I don't remember the question, but it was whoever gets this right wins 2 tickets to watch the upcoming Sugar Ray Leonard, Marvin Hagler fight on closed circuit television at Westchester Community College. And I called in and I won these 2 tickets, and my dad drove me to the radio station, and I picked up these 2 tickets where me and someone could watch Ray Leonard and Marvin Hagler fight. Now, I didn't have a driver's license. I was only 15 years old. So my dad took me, and my dad, the late Stan Pearlman, who died at the end of 2023 of pancreatic cancer, and who was my best friend and who I miss every day. My dad didn't care about sports. My dad knew nothing about sports, literally nothing about sports. We grew up in New York. He didn't know who Thurman Munson was, or Reggie Jackson was, or Phil Simms, or Ken O'Brien. He knew nothing, but he was a very loving father. And he said, all right, I'll take you. And we drove out to Westchester Community College to sit in the gym bleachers and watched a telecast of this fight. And all I wanted was for Sugar Ray Leonard to win. And if you were a kid growing up in the 1980s and you paid attention to boxing, you had to love Sugar Ray Leonard. Ray Leonard was flashy, pizzazzy. In a lot of ways, even though he was a welterweight, he was the heir apparent to Muhammad Ali, in that he kind of talked shit and he did a lot of things that were really fun in the ring, and he would do the rope-a-dope, and he would do the bolo punch, and he would look this way and punch that way. And he was a total showman. And his name was Ray Leonard, and he went by Sugar. And he was really good looking and charismatic. He'd been a Olympic champion in 1976 in Montreal. Everyone loved Sugar Ray Leonard. But Sugar Ray Leonard hadn't fought in 3 years. He had suffered a detached retina, announced his retirement at age 26, came back in 1984, fought a tin can named Kevin Howard. And Kevin Howard, this was just supposed to be Ray Leonard coming back. And Kevin Howard knocked Sugar Ray Leonard down. Sugar Ray Leonard had never been knocked down before. And it was a shocking moment because Kevin Howard was just a tomato can of a fighter. He was just an opponent. That's all he was. And he knocked Ray Leonard down. And after that fight, Ray Leonard retired. Well, meanwhile, you have Marvelous Marvin Hagler owning the middleweight division. And at the time, there were basically four kings of boxing. There was Roberto Duran, there was Thomas Hearns, there was Marvelous Marvin Hagler, and there was Sugar Ray Leonard. And all anyone wanted was Sugar Ray Leonard to fight Marvin Hagler. But Ray Leonard, after the Kevin Howard fight, said, I'm retired, I'm retired, I'm retired, I'm retired. And in the meantime, Marvelous Marvin Hagler becomes the marquee guy in boxing. He beats everyone in his path. He is this tough, understated guy from Brockton, Massachusetts, with a shaved head and a goatee and this snarl. And a couple years earlier, he'd fought Thomas Hearns in one of the great, if not the greatest fight in the history of the sport, where they just beat the absolute snot out of each other. And Hagler would not back down. And he wound up knocking down Hearns and winning. And it was spectacular. And Leonard, meanwhile, was retired. He's at these fights, calling him as a commentator. He's watching Hagler dominate. He's a middleweight champion of the world. And he probably shouldn't come back because, again, he had a detached retina. He hadn't fought in a long time. Kevin Howard knocked him down. He was raw. He was rusty. But something happened. Before Marvin Hagler fought Sugar Ray Leonard, ultimately, in April of 1987, he fought a fighter named John the Beast Mugabe. And I have to say, the Beast is one of the great boxing nicknames of all time. And John the Beast Mugabe was an okay fighter. Not great, not bad, okay, like legit. And Hagler really struggled with the Beast. He got in trouble. He looked sluggish. He wasn't really feeling it. And he wound up winning, but it wasn't a great fight for him. And Sugar Ray Leonard watched this fight, and he was like, this guy looks slow. This guy doesn't look like he wants it. But Sugar Ray Leonard loved the spotlight, and he wanted to get it back. So he watches in a Mugabe fight, and he decides in 1986, he's going to fight Marvin Hagler. And they announce a fight in 1987, and it's going to take place in Las Vegas, and it's going to be for the WBC Middleweight Championship. And nobody thinks Ray Leonard has a chance. Like, nobody thinks Ray Leonard has a chance. First of all, he's moving up in weight class. Second of all, Hagler is awesome. Even though he struggled with Mugabe, Hagler is awesome. He's tough. He doesn't take any shit. He's mean. He's got everything. And Ray Leonard seems like a clown at this point. Like, he's always retiring, unretiring, flopping around, dancing, etc. And they agreed to this fight. And it's really interesting. Hagler had been waiting to fight Leonard. Leonard decided he wanted to fight Hagler. But there were conditions. Hagler made more money for the fight. He made $12 million. Leonard made $11 million. It was just an ego thing. And Leonard let it go. And what he offered in exchange is Ray Leonard wanted a bigger ring, and Hagler agreed. And he wanted bigger gloves, and Hagler agreed. And Ray Leonard knew at that moment that this was going to be good for him. Ray Leonard wasn't a brawler. Ray Leonard was a dancer. Ray Leonard liked to dance around the ring, skip around the ring, avoid, come in, combination, back out, combination, back out. Do this, pop out, pop, back out. And Hagler was get in your grill. Hagler was, I'm going to get in on you. I'm going to punish your ribs. I'm going to give you an uppercut. I'm going to give you a hook, and I'm going to take you out. And Leonard wasn't that. And he wanted the bigger ring. So we're finally on April 6, 1987. It's Leonard Hagler. And everyone is waiting for this fight. And it lived up to everything people wanted. So there I am, sitting in Westchester Community College in a gym next to my dad. And luckily there were no cell phones at the time, because if there were cell phones, my dad would be looking at his cell phone the whole time. And I'd be like, Dad. And he said, I don't care. My dad did not care about sports, but I remember vividly, my hands were covered in sweat. My heart was beating. I loved Sugar Ray Leonard. Sugar Ray Leonard was just like, I don't know if it's still this way for kids, but he was my guy. Like, Ray Leonard was my guy. In the way in baseball, Ken Griffey Sr. was my guy. In the way in football, Freeman McNeil was my guy. Like, certain guys become your guys in sports. And Ray Leonard was my guy. And this fight begins, and they asked 50 experts in the media, 50 guys who covered boxing, who's going to win this fight. 48 of them predicted Marvin Hagler. And the fight begins, and Leonard comes out, and Hagler is doing something really weird. Marvin Hagler was naturally a southpaw, so he fought lefty. And he comes out this fight, and he's fighting righty. And people are confused. And he's fighting righty, and it's not really working. And Leonard is doing exactly what everyone knew he would do. He's dancing, he's skipping, he's taunting Marvin Hagler. Marvin Hagler, they would clinch, and Marvin Hagler would be, "Why don't you fight me, you little bitch?" Literally would whisper into his ear, "Why don't you fight me, you little bitch?" And Leonard would be like, "Yeah, okay," dancing around, staying on the outside. And every round, Sugar Ray Leonard did the exact same thing. Every round, the exact same thing. He would dance, he would bob, he would move, ba 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 ba, come out, ba 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 ba, come out. And he would wait for the last 20 seconds of every round, and he would go off. So he would steal the rounds at the end. So it'd be like a relatively even round, 20 seconds. Someone in Ray Leonard's corner would go, and he'd go, pop, 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 combo, step out, bell rings, round over. And everyone thinks, whoa, Leonard just stole that round. And this fight is going on. It's a 12-round fight. And it's going, and Marvin Hagler just doesn't seem like he's doing that much. And Ray Leonard is dancing around. He's mocking. He looks like a butterfly. He looks like the Ray Leonard of old. The announcers are starting to buy it. This kid, Ray Leonard, he's back. Oh my God, what is Ray Leonard doing? And you could see in the fight, Marvin Hagler getting madder and madder and madder. He's just furious because Ray Leonard will not stand there and fight with him. And Hagler throughout is going, "Come on, bitch. Why don't you fight me, bitch?" And Leonard doesn't care. You can call me a bitch. You can call me anything you want. I'm not standing there with you because I know you're stronger than me. I know you're probably tougher than me. And I know you'll knock me out. I saw what you did to Hearns. I'm not going to be that guy. And the whole fight, Leonard is just floating around. And toward the end, there are these moments. Again, I remember being a kid, 15 years old, Westchester Community College, a gym next to my dad. Ray Leonard did the bolo, where he does the fake this and pop. And the place went crazy. And he started mugging. He used to do this thing. He would hold his glove up and he'd go like this. Like that. And it was driving Hagler insane. But the fans were going crazy. And there was a flurry late in the fight where Leonard was in the corner and it looked like he was going to get beat up. And he kind of turned Hagler around. And he goes, pop, 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 a bunch in a row. And it was like, I'm telling you, the place went freaking wild because you had to love Ray Leonard and the story of a comeback and the story of this guy who wasn't supposed to win. It was just freaking magical. And the final bell rings. And it's funny because Hagler raises his hands like this and Leonard, he raises his hands like this. And they both think they won the fight. And I knew Sugar Ray Leonard won because I love Sugar Ray Leonard. But people who love Marvin Hagler think Marvin Hagler won. They're like, he wasn't dancing around. He actually fought. And I'm like, yeah, but Leonard. And people are like, no, but he was standing around. And it winds up being a split decision. Yeah, 115, 113, fine. 115, 113 for Hagler, fine. And then one of the judges won 118, 110 for Leonard, which is utterly ridiculous because it was a close fight. But Sugar Ray Leonard wins the fight. And I don't think I've ever felt better as a sports fan in my life. I don't think I ever felt more magical. I don't think I ever felt more vindicated. I felt like Sugar Ray Leonard was part of my universe. He was just so lovable and relatable. And it turns out Marvin Hagler, bitter, angry, never fights again. He actually quits boxing after that fight, moves to Italy, becomes an actor. And for the rest of his life, he died a bunch of years ago, insisted that he won that fight, that Sugar Ray Leonard was a little bitch, that Sugar Ray Leonard was dancing around, that Sugar Ray Leonard wouldn't stand there toe-to-toe with him and fight. And Sugar Ray Leonard, as he was wont to do, would just go, yeah, I don't know. I think I won. I pretty much think I won that fight. And Marvin Hagler definitely never let go of that bitterness and died angry about Ray Leonard. And Ray Leonard, meanwhile, had his legacy secure with that singular night in Las Vegas. So one thing about boxing that's kind of weird, disappointing, interesting, but predictable as all hell is winners rarely go out winners. The greatest fighters of all time always hold on too long. It's the sport of all the sports. It's the sport where guys hold on too long. Picture Muhammad Ali fighting Trevor Burbeck and getting his ass kicked. Picture Mike Tyson not that long ago coming back to fight Jake Paul. Name a fighter and he is stuck around too long. Name a fighter and you'll hear now in his older age, slurred speech, confusion over where he is. There's nothing more depressing than watching the reunions at the Boxing Hall of Fame and seeing these guys who were once our great gladiators show up limping, show up hobbled, show up drooling on their salads. Like, it's really grim. And Marvin Hagler lost that fight, but in a lot of ways he won because Marvin Hagler left. He retired. He never fought again. He lived this beautiful life in Italy. Yeah, he died too young, but he walked away, and he walked away with his mind intact. And Sugar Ray Leonard, if Sugar Ray Leonard had retired after that fight, it would have been one of the great retirements of all time. I came back, I won, it was great. But it never happens that way. And Ray Leonard, his next fight is against a Canadian named Donnie Lalonde, and he struggles and he wins, but he doesn't win. And then he fights Tommy Hearns to a draw, but he should have lost. And his last two fights are so sad. He fights Terry Norris in 1991 and loses. And then in 1997, at age 40, he fights Hector Macho Camacho and he gets his ass kicked. And if you want to be really sad, if you want to have a glum day at home, go to YouTube and watch Sugar Ray Leonard fight Hector Macho Camacho and watch this once valiant, glorious, iconic American sports figure lose to a carnival. It sucks. It really, really sucks. That being said, when I think of Sugar Ray Leonard, even all these years later, I actually don't think about Camacho. I don't think about Donnie Lalonde. I don't think about him getting dropped by Terry Norris. What I think about is a beautiful night in Las Vegas. And for me, a beautiful night sitting next to my dad, Stan Pearlman, at Westchester Community College, watching one of the all-time greatest athletes have one of the most glorious returns in modern sports history. That's a wrap for this episode of Press Box Chronicles with Jeff Pearlman. Please leave a comment below on what stories you'd like to hear. And if there's a particular sports figure you're interested in, let me know. Please make sure you like and subscribe and follow me on TikTok at Jeff Pearlman Author and on Bluesky at Jeff Pearlman. Thank you so much for diving behind the scenes and digging into the story. We will see you next time on Press Box Chronicles.